Hi, Blues Matters here with John Gilmour Smith of Bison the Hip.
Hello,
How are you
Colin.
today?
I'm good, Colin. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all.
Great.
I've
Thank you for having me on.
just been listening to a new album actually.
New album, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Tell us the origins of Bison the Hip.
So we have, for the most part, known each other for many, many years. So you probably already know, four of us are in our mid 50s now. Not like when we started in 2020. So most of us are in our mid to later 50s. Stevie's a little bit younger, but Paul, Malky, Graham, and myself, we've known each other since we were. Well, Paul and I have known each other since we were about 17. Played in various bands over the years, and we all worked together over the years. We kind of always kept in touch, and during that bit in lockdown and back in 2020, where we were all communicating via Zoom and stuff like that, right? So we had a Zoom meeting, and it so happened that four of us were in that Zoom meeting, and Paul, after a few whiskies, came up with this plan that, oh, we've got the constituent members of a band. Why don't we do something? We'd all been talking about music all night, and I think initially most of us went, ha ha ha, laughed. And then by the end of the meeting, we decided that's what we were going to do. And Bison Hit was formed, and Stevie joined us. And at the point we came out of lockdown, we got together and started playing. And kind of, we had no real plan for what was going to happen. We didn't really know where we were going to go, but it happened. We recorded, and before you know it, we're 5 years later, we're still doing it.
And what are your roots in music yourself?
My own roots, I fell in love with music. I think my sort of first memory of hearing stuff was when I was 9, and the two things I always remember was Our Friends Electric by Tubeway Army being on the radio in my dad's car, and then not that long after that, Message in a Bottle by the Police. And I think that was the day that I went, oh, I want to do that. Well, how do you get to do that? So I was about 9 years old, I think, when that happened, maybe even 8. And then over the next number of years, of course, you get, I was never at the library. I was always an avid reader, but you could get LPs at the library as well. And I used to get LPs and just get anything that I thought looked cool. And I came across so many. I remember getting My Funny Valentine with Miles Davis, and I think I was 11, and I just didn't understand what it was. But so I was interested in all sorts of styles, and then blues wise, I think I got into that because I was a big Bowie fan. I think I was about 12 when he brought Let's Dance out, and I had all this terrific guitar on it. Who's playing that guitar? And it was Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then off the back of that, I went and got some Stevie Ray Vaughan records, and so yeah, I was into so much stuff, and I still am into so much stuff. But the rock was really rock and blues were the two things that always kind of kept my attention.
And why a musician?
Probably because of Message in a Bottle, and I just thought it looked cool. And then I don't know, I was just really, the big thing for me was always writing songs. I was always interested in writing songs. Like, the instruments themselves were always a tool to write a song. So I didn't have that love affair with the guitar I was listening to an interview with Ainsley Lister recently, and he was talking about seeing Clapton playing the red guitar, and that was the moment for him. I never had that with an instrument, to be honest with you. It was always about songs. And so I learned to play an instrument because I wanted to write a song, not because I had this love affair necessarily with the instrument. And it's kind of still like that to some degree. So I don't have the glorious backstory of the guitar that maybe some guitarists would tell you. I was always about writing songs, and I always took an interest in the process and all that stuff as well. So yeah, so that was it. Songwriting first, musicianship second.
Right. Let's talk about the new album.
Let's talk about the new album.
Let's talk about the new album. How was it produced? Where was it produced? Mixed?
We recorded it. Well, we've got a kind of strict policy on the way that we work. So because we're all older guys and everybody's got careers and we're all busy, we have a sort of strict, a maximum of 4 rehearsals thing that we've done for all the albums that we've done. So in this particular occasion, I wrote the songs and let the guys hear the songs, and we had 4 rehearsals, and then we went into Chime Studios in Glasgow, which is owned by our friend Ross, and he engineered it for us. And again, we've got a really kind of strict policy in there as well, that we don't have click tracks, and we won't allow ourselves any more than 3 takes of each song. And I think in part, Colin, is like, I think we find you don't get bored after only 3 takes of the song, right? But there's something about that initial, I don't know if it's maybe a bit of nervousness or something, but there's a wee bit more energy in that. So everything on this album, I think, is the second take. It's all the second take of the song. So we have a fairly short process of doing it. The longest part for us is mixing, because I'm not really a mixer, so it takes me ages. A professional mixer would probably mix a track in a day easy. I take absolutely forever to try and mix stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so the actual learning the songs and recording them process for us is relatively quick. I mean, for the most part, the drums and bass, which are all totally live, with it, there's no overdubs in that at all, and most of the guitar, most of the keys are done in one evening actually. So the process is pretty quick, but I think it keeps it quite fresh.
Right. And the songwriting, who writes the songs?
Up until now, I've done most of them. Paul and I have written some together, but this album was all totally my songs. I wrote all the songs for this album.
And have you got a songwriting process at all? Or can it be anything?
Yeah, I mean, so some of it is like for the title track, everything that came before was just leading up to this. That was a title. It was just I got this name of a song in my head when I was messing around, and then not that long after that, I'm playing guitar and I came up with a riff, and I went, oh, there you go, that's that. And the two kind of things came together. And other songs are maybe an idea on a guitar first, or like some chords, and then something falls out of that. Or other times it's a lyric, maybe just even a line or a chorus or something. So I probably do have a process, but I'm not 100% sure what it is because it's not always the same thing. I'll then maybe start taking those ideas and demoing them and, messing around with some ideas in the studio or something like that, but the process, I don't know, I think it's probably on this album, I'd say it was almost different for every song.
And when you're writing the songs, did you have an idea of what they would be like when they came out live?
Yeah, I guess I did. I mean, because we've been together for 5 years now, and I knew all the guys pretty well, so now I feel as if when I'm writing something, I'm already thinking of what it'll sound like with Malky playing drums and Graham playing bass, and certainly with Paul singing. Although it's probably me sitting with my acoustic guitar or whatever, and I'm playing something and I'm singing it, it's actually Paul that I'm hearing singing it. So a lot of the songs on it, if you were to hear how I was singing it, I can't sing as high as he can. So It was probably me singing a bit like that, trying to kind of emulate what I thought he would do when he got a hold of it. So yeah, I think I'm at the point now that as soon as I've got the idea, it's kind of in my head what it'll sound like when Bison Hip plays it.
And talk about everything that comes before the song itself. Where did that come
Yeah, so that did come out of a title. That title kind of sat in my head for a couple of months with no real idea of what it was. I didn't know if it was the name of a song or just a line in a song. And then when I got the riff, it just all started kind of falling into place. That then became the title of the song because it felt right. What the song was about was a kind of mixture of something. I guess it's like that getting older thing, as of have we had the best part of our life? Is that been and gone, or is it like a downward spiral from now to the end, or in maybe some cases a sudden cliff? I don't really know, but I don't know if I feel like that, Colin. I think I felt that there is some pretty good stuff, and maybe even the best stuff is still to come. And then I think from the point of view of working with the band, this was the most comfortable I've felt writing and hearing the band in my head. And also I think we've just got more confident because when we first started, I mean, we did our first album before we'd ever done a gig. So now that we've got a lot more gigs under our belt and we've got a couple of albums under our belt, it felt like the process just felt confidence. I think from a band perspective and from a asking the question as somebody getting older perspective, you could put a question mark at the end of it probably and say, was it all leading up to this, and what actually is this? So it's a little bit of that question that probably underpin all our records of what's going to happen now,
And Bedlam.
So Bedlam was Bedlam is about that thing in not just romantic relationships, but in a lot of relationships in life where the question becomes that, and maybe again this is a little bit of that getting older thing where I don't really want that clash thing anymore. I kind of want to lay anchor and go, I want peace. I want to shut the door on the world and have peace. So the last thing I think anybody wants in their life is to walk in the door and get the same, stuff coming at them as they have when they're out in the world. So that's what that song was about. It's about I want to lay anchor and have a peaceful existence as opposed to where the world's coming at you at 100 miles an hour.
How would you describe your style as a band? And you're kind of put in the blues rock mould, but how would you?
I find that always a difficult one, Colin. One of the things I've discovered being in I guess you could call it a sort of bluesy rock community, because I've met a lot of people like yourself and a bunch of other guys over the last few years, and everybody's been great and incredibly welcoming to us, and it's been fantastic. It's interesting getting so many different views on what people think of as blues, because I guess my feeling about blues was always more about the lyric, more about the kind of cathartic nature of blues, as opposed to what the actual chord structure was like, or like the kind of 1-4-5 chord structure that you hear about, or the style of the guitarist or whatever. Or I would say that I would certainly feel as if we've got a kind of an ethos that, you know, like, it's real instruments. The keyboards are pianos and organs predominantly, and we kind of stick to that kind of structure. There's definitely a lot of rock influences, because I think if you went round all five of us and said, you know, what kind of stuff do you like, we'd probably start with rock and move out for there. But there's other stuff in there as well. There's a couple of tracks in the album where I think we've probably moved into some other stuff as well. So I'd like to think we sound like a bunch of sort of bluesy rock guys that come from Glasgow. I know a couple of people have said to me, it isn't authentic blues. And I go, well, authentic blues would maybe be the Delta. None of us are from there. So if I was to try and do authentic blues, it'd be about as inauthentic as I could possibly be, because, you know, I'm trying to pretend I'm from the Delta. So,
no, I mean, do you think genres matter now? I mean, we used to flick through LPs and things like that, and, you know, rock, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Now,
Well, I don't know
it's
that
all
they...
music, isn't it?
It is music, and I think I just want to make music that we like, and then you hope other people like it as well. I feel as if it's natural to a degree that every generation will stretch genres further, because there's more coming at them. You know, so, like, you know, one of my favourite bands is Depeche Mode. You know, now we don't use a lot of electronic stuff, but I still listen to them and like their songs. And I've never thought of a band of I would like a band or not like a band based on the genre either. I either like it or I don't. And so I would say that probably we've got so many different influences that there should be some of that creeping into it. I don't think of it, you know, to try and limit yourself to one thing, I think would be... So I just write a song and we play it, and if we like it, we do it, and I guess that's what it comes out like.
And the single Chemicals is coming out tomorrow. Where did that come from? That's a real earworm, that one.
Do you like that? Well, I mean, that's how we felt about it when we put the song together. That that felt like the song we should push. It just felt catchy. I mean, the first time we played it, we were all kind of singing it on the way home and all that, you know, so it felt right to do that. So Chemicals was just, I guess there's a kind of tongue-in-cheek thing, you know, about the fact that, you know, do we know that if the feelings that we're having are actually real, you know, like, so you've got, like, you know, if you meet somebody, for example, in a relationship, and you get a big kick of dopamine, and then after a little while that turns into serotonin, and there's a load of oxytocin comes into your life, and that's the closeness chemical, and then you go, well, am I actually feeling what I think I feel here, or have I just got a big surge of chemicals going through my body to make me think that, you know? But I don't really think that, and I think that the song itself is kind of alluding to that, as like it suggests the suggestion. I guess, like, if somebody made a comment about the 10cc song of, like, the tongue-in-cheek "I'm not in love" when you clearly are, you know. So I guess in some ways I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek of saying it's all chemicals, but I don't think it is, you know. So,
and then, why should I cry if you leave me?
Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a question to myself of, you know, some failed relationships, really, of, you know, am I hard-hearted? Am I soft-hearted? I don't really know sometimes. And I suppose I was kind of asking myself a question there of, you know, I guess in every single situation, not just in romantic relationships, but you start everything off with a lot of hope. And then at some point, some of that seems to have dissipated, and, you know, would I genuinely be upset about it or not? So I guess there's a little bit of introspection there.
Outrageous?
Outrageous was genuinely about somebody who's absolutely outrageous in a really great way. Right. In a really great way. But there was that little kind of, like, thing of somebody that is just somebody that's in your life and is a bit wild, and, you know, it's like, you know, maybe you don't necessarily want what they're bringing to it, but then maybe you don't want to not have that, you know. So it was a little bit about that. It was like a little bit of play on words there, and a wee bit got a wee bit out there about Samson and Achilles and stuff like that, you know. So it's kind of playing around with the lyrics a bit with that one.
And it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool was quite an interesting thing, because that came off the back of reading an article, or actually reading a book about how social media was killing people, in the sense of it was really, really harmful for most type of relationships. And one of the things they were talking about is how a younger generation have been brought up to think it's okay for each other to be communicating with loads of other people of the opposite sex or whatever, you know, you're influenced by. So I was kind of playing on words there. And then there was a little article in that where there's a line in the song where I mentioned, when it comes to clothing, I prefer Cary Grant. And it was an article about the difference in clothing in men and things like that, you know, and it had a sort of picture of the guy with the man bun and a picture of Cary Grant next to it. And so I was really just kind of playing. It was a shot at society, really, that is, we've created this weird world where it's acceptable to do things that I think our generations would probably go, no, it just isn't. I'm just not comfortable with that, you know. So it was really, it's like from the perspective of an older guy trying to pretend you're okay with that, you know. So
How much does social media influence what you do PR wise?
We try to do more of it. Paul does it. I'm not a social media guy. I don't really do Instagram or TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I'm on Facebook, but I find it difficult, Colin, because one of the things we've noticed over the couple of years we've been doing it is that the videos that get the most traction are more personal. So, like for example, us talking. And I always find that really strange because I don't watch videos of anyone else talking because I'm not interested. So I find it hard to apply that logic and go, oh, people will be really interested in what I've got to say because I don't feel particularly interested in what other people have to say. So social media for me I find difficult, but we're getting better at it, and we do have to do more and more. And I think everyone has to do it because it's expected that if someone listens to your music, they're going to go on Facebook and have a look at you. And I also think that people are now genuinely interested in what you get up to on an almost day-to-day basis. So I think we do I need to get better at that. We all do need to get better at that too. So we're going to still in to see Jeff tonight. So I think Paul and I will probably do some chat, before we go and see Jeff.
Right.
But yeah, I find social media a weird thing. If it wasn't for the band, I'd probably not be on it at all, personally. But it's a big tool for people nowadays, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And there's so many platforms now for listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
How do you specifically get to an audience?
I don't know if I knew the answer to that, Colin, we'd be doing better than we are. It's really hard because there's still traditional routes with a lot of radio shows out there that will play, and like the guys from the IBB, I'm just about to send it to all those guys, and those guys have been fantastic with us. I think we were 13th on last year's chart for airplay. I mean, for us that was just incredible. So we owe those guys a lot for a lot of the help they've given us. As far as it's such a saturated world, isn't it, that to try and stand out is incredibly difficult. Where we find it hardest up here in Scotland is that there's not a big gigging community nearby in the way that there is for, if you look at Brave Rival, for example, and they're doing like a load of gigs, and you look at the location of them, and they're doing a bunch of gigs within what we would term a fairly small radius. We don't have that up here at all, and that makes it very difficult because for us to travel that distance is incredibly expensive. So getting gigs we're still essentially kind of like, cap in hand begging guys to go stick us on your festival next year, and so we find that really difficult. And I know it's the same for everybody, like Lindsay and Greg, for Lindsay Dolan and Greg Taylor, we're always talking about the same things, so yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's a very small pie of blues in Scotland. Everyone's wanting a piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is very difficult.
So I'll try and give people a hard time. Like I'll be giving you a hard time fairly soon about your blues club in Edinburgh, that kind of thing. And
right.
But I'm also conscious that when I'm doing that, so's everybody else. Everyone's going, Colin, come on. So and it's the same for the guys we speak to, like guys like Stephen Stanley, who's been fantastic with us. I know that he's got everybody chasing him for stuff. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Back to the album. Next track, The Mountain.
So Mountain's just about, although it's kind of done in the perspective of a sort of relationship thing, it's not really about that. It's more about, I don't know if you know the philosophical writer Alan Watts, but I listened to a lot of his stuff, and one of the things he was talking about was just an approach to life, and I was thinking about that a lot, that, I guess we're all going through life trying to force everything, and that's what that's about, is that maybe it's time to stop trying to force everything and live life a bit more in a bit of a flow. So, because I was kind of conscious that everything from work to family stuff to everything in life it gets to the point where it's all controlling you, because you're you're not the master of anything. You end up slave to it. So that song's really about that. It's about being a slave to almost every situation in life, whether it be relationships, family, work, whatever, and really about giving up on that a little bit, getting that out of your head, and that's where the line, this time the mountain will come to me, kind of thing,
Yeah. So it's not about a lost relationship.
No, it's not. I always find that to some degree, everything in life is a bit of a relationship, and I think it's there's also when you're writing a lyric, it's easier to kind of like it feels more natural for it to come out in that format. Like how do you write in a lyric that you were listening to Alan Watts talking about philosophy? That's not. it's not a very common lyric, so I think sometimes it just when it starts to come out, it comes out in this feeling of it being about a relationship, and so I guess in some ways it was my relationship to all these things like work and all these duties that you have in life, and I was kind of singing it to them rather than to somebody to an individual.
And the imposter, that brings a wee bit of soul in.
So that was pretty deep, that song. That's, I guess, off the back of life's failures, I guess you could call them, which I've probably had more of them than I've had successes, right? So, but the question in that is that it's easy to go through life without taking much accountability, because it's a bit more comfortable to blame everybody at the world, or blame everybody else, or blame the man, or whatever, and say that if it hadn't been for this, I would have had all these great things. But I guess the imposter's more a question of, maybe I'm the common denominator here, and asking the question of, maybe it's me, So that's what that was. It was more, again, it's quite introspective, but and a little bit deeper, in the sense of all the times that you've failed in your life, it's probably you, So so that was a little bit deeper, a bit more soulful lyrically, and probably a bit more personal than the other tracks in the album.
Do you find it easy to write a song like that?
Yeah, I do. I do now. I write. There's some songs that I write that I don't do anything with, and I don't put them into the band, because not everything. Sometimes when it's like that, it's a little bit. It gets maybe a little bit too personal to kind of open out in a band setting. I think the Imposter and tracks off the previous albums work fine like that, but not everything does. But I do actually, because as I've got older, I think it is important to take accountability, and I think again, the cathartic nature of blues is, in some ways, it's like taking accountability externally in the world, but without standing with a placard on you to go, I've not always been great, by the way, I've not always been a great person. So I guess it's like a sort of way of saying, I haven't done everything right, and I don't always think I've been great, but I'll do it through the media, a song, rather than sticking it on my Facebook page or something. So in some ways I do. Sometimes when I'm listening to stuff back, I go, I'm surprised I said that, But no, I think I really like that. I'm really proud of the lyric in that song. Actually, I'm really pleased with that song.
And Defenceless.
Yeah, it's just about vulnerability, and again, it's probably less about any kind of specific relationship, and more about a willingness to decide to be vulnerable. Again, that's not always something I was always very good at, and I always kind of like stayed quite stoic and things like that. So I guess it's maybe just talking about, as we're getting older, is it all right to be vulnerable in the world, and be out there and be prepared to take risks. Probably everybody who plays music goes through some of that, or anybody who does anything artistic in any shape or form, because there's always that point where I'm about to put the album out, and even when I sent it to you the other day, there's that little bit where you go, God, I hope this guy likes the album, and so in some ways you're kind of bearing yourself, aren't you, and going, and you have to be open to the possibility somebody comes back and goes, it's pretty crap, mate. So I guess that song's about that. It's that kind of vulnerability in the world, and maybe a preparedness to say, what is it you were trying to defend, what is it about yourself you were trying to be stoic about,
And the last, I really like the last track. It's a big fan of this song.
That's great.
I like the lyrics in this. I forgot to tell my heart you're gone. Is that live? Or just live in studio?
Yeah, it's kind of live in the sense, it's genuinely what Paul says at the start of the second take. So, and at the time that when Malky played the drum fill, and we all said, no, yeah, kind of thing, like, oh, the intention was, of course, not to use that. But when we listened back to it, we were like, oh, that sounds really good. And it sounded like it was fun, we were having fun, and I think that came across in the track. So we just took the decision, well, just leave that in, just leave us shouting at him in. And I think and I liked that, because it added a little bit of kind of extra character, and, you just don't always hear that stuff on records, so that's why we decided just to leave all that in. So yeah, it was pretty much live,
I think it shows your camaraderie as a band as well.
Aye. Yeah, that's how it felt when I was listening back to it, and the first thought was like, oh, let's cut all that out and get straight to the song. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, I kind of like what that does, and it, as you say, it adds a little bit of something about character to the back, and you hear a wee bit more that you normally would of the band. So I liked that a lot. So I'm glad you liked that track, because I was really pleased with that track.
You can see the evolution of Bison Hip through this album.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts for the future?
We don't have massive plans, because I don't know what we could plan, because guys at our age, we're not So, I mean, if somebody came along tomorrow from a record company and said, do you want to go touring around the world in the back of your van? The answer would be absolutely not. Like, we've all got jobs, we've all got families, we've got loads of other commitments, and the idea of doing that now is like, God. But we'd love to keep going, and we'd love to do more gigs, and we'd love to increase the profile and get people to hear us more, just because we love it. As you probably know, Colin, we don't make any money from it. Not many people do. If we had a load of spare cash, would we put it in to promote the band? We'd probably put some of it in, yeah, but we don't. We had no idea how long it would last, and I don't know that I thought we would have 2 EPs and 3 albums in essentially the space of 4 years. But we have, and we've done some cracking gigs, and we've met loads of great people, which has been probably the best thing about it. And we want to do more gigs. We just love playing live, and we seem to get a pretty good reception everywhere we go, and that's the highlight for me. So I love the recording process, I love writing, I love us recording, I love mixing it, and I love getting the album out. But the bit that comes after that are getting together with your mates, because that's the difference, is we're mates first. And if Bison Hip stopped tomorrow, so I don't know if you saw on the social media, but Malky had our drummer had a car crash just about a week ago. And he's fractured his sternum, so he's going to be out for a number of weeks, we had to cancel a gig at the first Thursday Blues Club in Edinburgh, which was really disappointing. But hopefully we won't have to cancel anything else or bring a dep in, but like, if something serious happened to somebody, or somebody even just took the decision they didn't want to do it anymore, I suspect the band just ends, because I don't really want to play in a band that's not my mates. Again, that's the advantage of doing it when you're older and not relying on it in any shape or form. And we're not trying to get world domination, but I would love more people to hear what we do. So the long-term plan of Bison Hip is the album comes out and we'll try and get as many gigs as we can next year, and then what happens after that, we'll just keep going. So I think probably where we are, it's like at the end of every year we probably go, everybody all right to keep doing that? Yep. And we're fine. So as far as beyond that, I don't really know. I mean, we talked about maybe next year we'd like to do a live album, and maybe we'll do that, so that's something that maybe a plan. And I mean, I've already got a couple of ideas for songs that I'm thinking, maybe in 6 months we'll release some singles rather than go through. It's a big commitment to do a full album.
Yeah.
And we've done one every year, because the 2 EPs were 10 tracks, and then there's been an album every year, and it's a lot of work, so maybe we'll take a little bit longer this time. But as far as long-term plans, we'll keep going as long as anybody's interested in hearing us, and anybody's interested in putting us on a gig, and we're interested in playing it. And if that's the case, then we'll keep going and we'll see what happens. But right now, we're all massively into it, because we had a great year last year. We're really happy with the album, and if enough people are interested in hearing it, then we would love to keep going.
And have you road tested quite a few of the songs?
Only one, because again, part of that, Colin, is a little bit because of our process, because what we do is we rehearse them 4 times really quickly in the space of like 2 weeks, then we record it, and then in that time we've not had any gigs in the time since we did that, so the only songs we had to go with was Chemicals. So I suppose in some ways it would be lovely to have them in the set for 6 months and get them really, really tight and much better, but then do you lose some of that initial excitement? I don't know. Yeah. So no, we haven't. We were rehearsing for the Thursday Blues Club thing, and we had quite a few of the songs in, and the one you're talking about, Forgot to Tell My Heart That You Were Gone, that was sounding dynamite. So again, we're going, it's going to be great, but we never got the gigs. So hopefully by the time we get into October and we're doing some other stuff, there'll be a load of them in the set.
What are your hopes and fears for the album?
I hope that helps us increase our profile, because I just want more people to hear it than heard the last one, because I really liked the last album, and I'd like more people to have got in front. I hope this one gets in front. As far as fears, I feel pretty confident about the album, so if nobody hears it, then that's life. If people don't like it, well, you can only make the music that you want to make yourself, and you just hope that people will like it. But if they don't, well, again, I suppose we're old enough and ugly enough to go, well, that's the way it goes. So, we've invested a lot of time and a lot of energy into the album, but I think we'll probably all be long enough in the tooth to know that you can't please everybody anyway. I saw an article the other day that said more people didn't buy Thriller than did buy Thriller. And I was like, well, fair enough, the biggest selling album most people ignored. So you just can't please everybody. So I don't really have any fears for it, Colin. I'd love it if people loved the album and more people got to hear it. But if they don't, we don't have a great deal of control over that.
And what does the blues mean to you?
The blues, I could have touched on that earlier. I've always it's cathartic. It's somebody getting some of that stuff that's sitting inside you that can be pretty poisonous at times and throwing it out into the world. And I think some of the, my favourite blues guitarists are the guys who play guitar like that as well. So it's not just in the lyrics of the song, it's in how they approach the music. That there's a kind of realness about the music. It's always live musicians. It's always a bunch of guys in a room together, and that's what I've always loved about it. But there's a cathartic nature about the blues that goes way back. So what got me back into the blues after years of being away from music was Hard Again by Muddy Waters. Just listen to the kind of, and in the opening track, Manish Boy, just listen to how cathartic that is for him. And when he's going through that track, it sounds like he's got his mates in the room agreeing with him, and I just love that. But it's that cathartic thing that when I think of blues, I don't think about the chords the guys are playing, or I think about that it's really cathartic. There was a Buddy Guy track in recent times where I'm sure he was saying, like, just give me a few more years left in my life, right? Just a few quality years and it was such a cathartic thing to say because he was an old man by this time, right? And for a guy of that age to be saying, all I'm asking you for is a few more years, right? And I just thought that was so typified the blues. Not musically it was the blues, but the lyric absolutely typified that for me. So that's how I view it. There's like a realness about it, and it's a real cathartic edge to it.
And what keeps you motivated into doing what you're doing?
Loads of stuff, writing songs, trying to get better. Because I'm nowhere near the player I would like to be. I'd like to try and get better and better at that all the time. But the most motivating thing for me is I do it with my mates. Some people go to football with their pals. Some people go to the pub with their pals or whatever. I do gigs with my mates. It absolutely motivates me to do that. I'm not motivated to become an international rock superstar. I'll take it, right? But I'm not motivated to do it. But no, what really motivates me most than anything is that, when we're playing and we've had a couple of moments where it's got pretty emotional when we've been up there because we have known each other for a long time, and to be up there doing that, and we're all getting a bit older, and it's our material, it feels good. I'd like to keep that going for as long as we can, as long as we're all five of us enjoying it. If one person came tomorrow and said, I'm not enjoying this anymore, I think it's finished. But we're all enjoying it and we love each other's company, and we were travelling to gigs. We were over at Arran earlier this year, we were down in Stockton, and we were down in Lincoln, and and going away for the weekend and stuff like that with the guys in the band. What a laugh we had, and it was great. So it's that more than anything, and I love writing songs, I love doing music, I love all the parts of the process, but the real bit for me is whether it's in rehearsal or but particularly at gigs, I'm with my mates.
Where's the strangest place that you've played?
The strangest? With Bison Hip. I don't know, the first thing we ever did was HMV in Glasgow, and that was a pretty strange kind of experience just because you're kind of stuck in the corner of the HMV shop. So that was a pretty weird experience. We did a festival in Peterborough going back to like the first year. It was one of our really early gigs, second or third gig or something. And I think in our head we thought it was a big music festival, right? A rock festival. But it was like a family fun day festival. And there was other bands on it, but they were all cover bands, right? Yeah. So we walked in, the place looked packed, and it was a fantastic stage, huge big stage with a back screen, right? Huge big space, and the great sound guys and everything. But then we came on and everybody else went to watch some guy bungee jumping off a thing. We were playing to like two people, a guy and his dog, That was pretty strange. So that's probably the weirdest places that we've been lucky because a bunch of guys took us under their wing fairly early. Guys like Stephen Stanley, and gave us pretty damn good gigs early on. So we haven't really had any absolute stinkers, Almost everything that we've done has been good. Varying degrees of that, but yeah, we've been really lucky. We've done some really good stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
Does
anything you want to say to the Blues Matters public and your fans?
No, I would love it if you would go and at least give us a listen, and if you like it, join up on our Facebook, because that appears to be really important. And we can tell you we're coming, and hopefully next year we're going to see more and more people and come along and support us, and absolutely come up and talk to us, because we love meeting new people and talking to everybody. And it's been the community of all the people that we've met has been absolutely brilliant. And I guess you don't know what that's going to be like, when you start off in this, because you go, is this going to be a clique of people that all know each other? But it's not been like that at all. Everybody's been incredibly welcoming. But come along, because I think we're pretty good live, and I think you like it. So, and we would love to just meet more and more people, and just give us a listen, see what you think, and get in touch with us.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Colin. Appreciate it.
I'll see you again, Joe.
Yeah.